Welcome in another episode of 3 in the Box Sports Podcast. I'm your
So
number
two,
one box, Frost. My number two box, Keith over there. My number three box, Jordan. We're gonna dive right into it. Give us that weekly rundown, Jordan.
Yeah, so we haven't had too much updating since last week. Sports is still at a standstill for the most part, but I'm sure most people saw the big news this week. Cam Newton to the Patriots. 1 year vet minimum deal. It's actually only 55K or 550K guaranteed, but up to 6.45 million in guarantee or in incentives. So performance benefits or roster pay. So, not sure how that'll pan out. Not sure if Cam can function well under Belichick's system, but I feel like if there's any coach that can do it with a new QB, it's definitely Belichick.
I
yeah,
think
I
I
mean,
think
no, please
they
go.
I think they will adapt either whether it's Cam or Bill. And Cam has even said it's not about the money, so that 550 means nothing. Like he's good on money. It's more about the respect factor. He waited around. No team really wanted to give him a shot, and then the Patriots swoop in like they normally do and pick up a
Goddamn
guy
Patriots.
at a steal, and it could be a huge payout. With them trying to fill in Brady.
Yeah, I mean, as many of you probably saw my reaction video, you know how I feel about this. But realistically, I think a lot of us are forgetting too. Josh McDaniels had to build a system around Brady, and I think a lot of that was, when you look at him in Denver, look at the quarterbacks he went after. Tebow. Jay Cutler was a little bit more, you can make the argument, a little bit more mobile than Brady was, cannon of an arm. Cam's very similar to that. I mean, is Cam going to have to learn to stop running? Yes, especially with how many injuries and broken down
Yeah,
he's
the
kind of been.
shoulder
But
injury, the foot injury.
yeah, I mean, you can't look out the Patriots, man. Now that they signed Cam again, they're relevant in the East. I mean, it's really just going to be the Patriots and the Bills in that division this year.
And that's coming from a Jets fan.
Yeah, I mean, and that's being realistic. It's be the Patriots and the Bills.
So what's going
So
on
in
with this Washington?
Falling apart at the seams.
Yeah, so it seems like the day has finally come for the Redskins. It's been talked about for years, but with everything going on in the world right now, all of the Redskins sponsors and some of the NFL sponsors are now urging what they call the team in Washington to drop the Redskins name and logo. FedEx, who's the stadium sponsor, has requested the change. And supposedly Nike has now pulled all merch from the Redskins website as well. So it seems like there's an imminent change coming to one of the NFL franchises. The question is, how quick can they do it? I don't think this is something that they want to rush.
It's crazy because we're talking about one of the most, well, I wouldn't say the most, but the Redskins name has been around since what, 1933? I
Yeah,
think
it's
they
a
were called
recognizable
the
brand.
Boston Redskins. And Dan Snyder's been dealing with this since, probably since he became an owner in '99. But in 2013, he even went on record saying on USA Today that he would never change the name. Like you can put never in all caps, I believe is what he said. But now you have these 85 odd investment firms and shares, pressuring the FedEx and the PepsiCo and the Nike. Uh, they total like 620 billion in assets. If they don't, they're threatening if they don't sever ties. They're basically forcing to sever ties or change their name from the Redskins. It's like I don't even know what you would change it to.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to have a vote on it. I mean, you can look back and see, the Washington changed it from the Bullets over to the Wizards. So I mean, it's happened. It's just I don't think we've ever seen it with such a historic team like this having
Yeah.
to do that, to completely rebrand yourself. And that's not necessarily taking away from the Redskins. You can still keep the history. It's just, maybe it is time to change it up a little bit.
And
You can keep
we've
that.
seen teams, basketball or baseball, NFL. I don't think
Yeah,
NFL's done it.
yeah. I mean, the only
Only
thing is, I think what's happening all is now that you hit, because a lot of people aren't even fans of Dan Snyder to begin with.
mm,
It's when you start hitting the pockets, it's when things are going to start to change. Now, my only thing is, okay, the Redskins changed their name, so are the Chiefs going to have to be next? Or the Atlanta Braves going to have to be next? The Florida
Florida
State.
State Seminoles.
You start hitting all these different things, but if they change it, it's going to be interesting. Definitely in today's world, it's not going to be too difficult to rebrand yourself. But
Hmm.
now that Nike's pulling your merchandise and stuff,
Yeah,
it's yeah, it's going to happen.
it seems like
And
with all
just
that's going around with the Black Lives Movement and stuff, not to be political, but if there was going to be a time for change, now would be the time that they would change. So
yeah, no, it should
we'll
be
see
good
what
for them.
happens.
Should be
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for the Redskins,
the
and
faithful.
Dan Snyder, they could have had an opportunity to change it and make it seem like a good thing, and now it's just going to be, well, the money left, so we're being forced to
Yeah.
change it, and
Yeah, now
no
you're
no
doing it
one's
for
going
the
to
wrong
paint it in a good
reasons.
light.
Yeah, and I
Hmm.
mean, you even look back at
That's a
just,
good point.
we end this topic. I mean, you look back at some of the historic Redskins. I mean, their nicknames, were that offensive line was known as the Hogs. Had nothing to do with their name at all. It's that team has had fantastic history. So it's not. I just want people out there to realize the team's not going away. It's just you might see a little brand change, but they're still going to be there. They'll still have that history.
It'll be interesting to see what they change it to for sure.
So, jumping into NBA, even less news for NBA, but so right now they're still moving forward with the bubble season down here in Orlando. They're in phase 3 right now of the restart, which includes testing every other day for players and mandatory individual workouts. So far, 25 of 351 NBA players have tested positive, which sounds significant, but really, I mean, that's not that much for a large group. And I think it's only like 10 out of 800 plus staffers have tested positive. So overall, small numbers. They should be able to quarantine those players and those staff for a couple weeks prior to the season and be ready to go. No more significant news about players dropping out so far. It sounds like LeBron and Anthony Davis are still ready to go, and as long as those guys are ready to go, my guess is a lot of other players are going to show up as well.
Yeah, I mean, from what I think we've all been seeing is they're on it. Like we saw, they sent the courts over to Disney, so they're setting up their practice courts for them. It's for many of you. I don't know if you guys out there know that Florida is becoming the hotspot for COVID at the moment. Our cases are growing daily. We are breaking records daily, and the NBA is taking that into consideration. There is no doubt about that. I mean, if this continues to get worse week by week, you might have to see a city change, or what you probably see Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith yesterday. They're believers that there's going to be no season, or they'll start it and then just end it. Because we have seen DeAndre Jordan test positive. He backed out. Spencer Dinwiddie, both with the Nets, he tested positive as well. He's still iffy on if he's coming down. But we have seen some other players. I mean, the thing is, notably, they're not star players. So I think until we see maybe a bigger name individual decide not to come is when maybe you'll start to have those talks hit the mainstream a little bit more. But like if you have your Trevor Arizas and your Garrett Temples and stuff, those aren't guys that are going to draw crowds or views on TV. So I mean, I'm hoping that we have a season, but I mean, realistically speaking, I mean, you just have to be prepared that there might not be one.
I think there is going to be a season. I think they will finish it out. They're going to get a lot of backlash for doing this, especially coming to Orlando, like you said, being a hot spot. But with them doing this whole bubble thing, and there's going to be NBA players like DeMar DeRozan has come out and, voice their complaints and against all the regulations and rules that they have. But regardless, once this thing starts going, I think that it'll be, it'll be okay. They'll get on the TV. The rich people will get richer, and the fans will get their sport. And realistically, if you discount Korean baseball, this is the first. Well, I guess baseball in America will start soon, but realistically, this will be one of the sports that'll be first to get back into the jump, and I think the fans will be excited. And I think once it starts rolling, we'll be okay. It'll be fun. So
Yep. So jumping to baseball. No major news since last week. Still moving forward with the start later this month. The only significant news is that Hal Steinbrenner from the Yankees is actually saying that they think they could have fans at a 20 to 30% capacity at some point this season. Remember, the MLB is not playing in a bubble. They are not all going to one location. They are traveling to their respective stadiums. So kind of big news if you're a baseball fan in any of those cities. You might actually get to catch a game socially distanced, but you can watch some baseball, maybe get a hot dog. I don't know if they're going to be doing that kind of stuff, but well, yet to be
$20 hot
seen.
dog.
give me a beer.
$30 beers.
Yeah.
And then to wrap up the rundown here, we have a little bit of hockey news. So hockey's still coming back. They're kind of doing the limited playoff, similar to the NBA, but apparently the training camp has hit a delay. Negotiations. They've already been in the process of returning, but I guess there's some hesitation around the current status of actually returning to play and be together as a team. Honestly, I'm not a huge hockey guy, but if you can't tell, Keith is. So what do you know about this, Keith?
Yeah,
Oh,
they
hockey
kind of did.
expert.
Yeah, the hockey technically, I guess you can say out of the major sports was going to be the first to return. Their training camp technically would start July 10th. Now the problem became is many of you saw in Arizona, or I should just say the state, as a whole, the Coyotes play out there, and they went on a lockdown as a state. I believe their governor put them on a 30-day lockdown. So, the Coyotes are at a disadvantage. If they got to get ready, they're going to have to leave to practice. And the Coyotes are in the bubble to play for the Western Conference. Now, the only concern that a lot of players are having is like you have the teams like the Lightning and the Panthers who are playing in Florida. The Lightning were one of the, which was kind of funny, as you can probably tell, I am a Lightning fan. One of the top teams in the league who we get a bye. They were one of the two teams that voted against coming back to play. And with them, the Lightning did have players that tested positive for COVID, which I think that a lot of them have isolated themselves to a point that to be able to come back. But, hockey, it's tough. Their level of playing, you can make the argument. A lot of people will say, oh, we don't watch hockey and everything. That is a grueling sport. That is contact every single time you're on the ice. They got to get into game shape fast, that lower body, that core and everything. But as a whole, I think hockey would probably be the first to come back. And with them, the biggest plus they have is the two hub cities they're playing in are not in the United States.
Right.
Edmonton and Toronto did get the hub votes, so they are technically leaving the country to go play. And Edmonton, I did believe, got the vote to take the finals for the Stanley Cup. So, that is a plus for the players as well. You're putting them, from my understanding, in a safer environment than keeping them here. But the problem is a lot of what I kind of hit on is their training camps and everything. It's going to be tough for them to play where they are than travel. But at the moment, I definitely still think you're going to have hockey as a go.
As far as fans, are they going to do like what the NBA is talking about, subbing in some sound bites for the crowd noise?
They haven't actually hit on that yet.
No.
So we're hoping that you might actually get fans in the stand. A lot of that's going to be just how I think Canada is going to handle that. But there's nothing like playoff hockey. I mean, these guys are going to immediately
That's the
get in
only
the
hockey I
mode.
really watch.
Yeah, I mean,
It is exciting. It is exciting.
yeah, they're going to get in the mode. They're going to come back and play hard. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. Every single team that's participating, you're going to get their best games.
Hmm.
And the plus is a lot of these guys that were injured, these top stars, Stamkos, if you're, again, hit on the lightning, Stamkos, McDonough, you have your top player, top defenseman. They were both hurt. Now they're healthy. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing. You're going to have all your injured players are coming back full steam.
Yeah. Well, that's the weekly rundown. Uh, it's tough getting this sports news and stuff given the certain circumstances we're in, but they still find news to share and stuff. Um, we're going to dive into what we used to call the round robin section. We're now calling it the
We
boxing
rebranded.
it out. Boxing it out. This is the part of the show where each three of us will bring in a topic. The other know the topic, but they don't know the stance that that person will take. The object is to argue your stance and get the majority rule. The loser on the out will get the point. Points are bad in this situation. And I don't know if you guys seen on our Facebook and Instagram and other social medias, we were doing a poll called "Turning Up the Heat Challenge." Why don't you tell us about the
Gonna be
food
hot.
that'll be indulged there, Keith?
Yeah, we got two of the spicy food challenges going. One's gonna be the insanely hot spicy ramen,
Oh God,
and then the other one is gonna be the ghost pepper or Carolina Reaper laced chocolate bar.
when you say
And it's
laced, it just sounds rough.
it's
Sounds
gonna
bad.
it's gonna be rough. So if y'all haven't seen those, go on your YouTube and watch some videos of people indulging in that.
Is it
And you'll
true that you have to sign a waiver when you
So
buy this stuff?
I believe some of them do come with warnings that
Oh,
they are not going to be liable if something
can't
happens to you.
imagine the damage that it will do to your insides, whether it's the noodles or the chocolate.
It's gonna be
Uh,
huge.
but it'll be interesting to see how Jordan reacts when he eats this stuff. Just saying, just saying. But we'll dive right in here into the boxing it out segment. Um, I guess I'll go first. Uh, this week I'm bringing a, a fun topic. I think it will get a lot of interest on our social media. Feel free to comment and give your opinion. My topic is least favorite sports commentator. Um, as for me, I love high energy guys. When it comes to commentating, guys that bring that emotion, guys like Gus Johnson, that guy can make making a sandwich exciting. Kevin Harlan, he has an iconic voice, whether it's football or basketball,
Doc Emmerich in
um,
hockey.
and I feel he does a great job. Even Mike Brin, with his iconic catchphrase after a huge shot, bang! Like, it's just, it just gets you going. Um, and I tell you another guy that I really like is Tony Romo. I think he's a great commentator. He brings so much insight to the game of football, and a lot of times he can forecast what's going to happen next. He truly has a real talent for commentating, and CBS knows it. Paying him that cool 17 mil a year
Highest
contract for
paid. Highest
that's
paid.
that's
That's
insane.
almost as much as he made as a quarterback.
Yeah, yeah. So he's sitting pretty, but the positive thing is
Dak's taking that in consideration.
right. And the positive thing is it's keeping Phil Simms out of the booth, which thank God for that. Uh, he definitely starts my list off on least fave. Uh, I'm so glad that I can turn on a game on Sunday and not hear his voice. He just comes so dry and so boring. Uh, I just I remember watching a game and brought up that Sims keys to victory BS, and I just thought that was such a joke. But literally said his key is they gotta play good on offense and really good on defense. I was like, oh really? Like I didn't know that. Like it's just my God. I I'd really love to slap whoever hired him and said I I just don't understand how they thought that would be a good fit. The next guy on my list is Chris Collinsworth. Man,
Ooh.
like if I have to hear now, here's a guy one more time, I'm gonna lose it. Like, how do you replace a guy like John Madden in the booth with Chris Collinsworth? He's so dull. It's crazy. And to round out my three worst sports commentators, of course, Booger McFarland makes my list. I
One
just
and
don't
done.
understand how great football player, great D tackle for my Super Bowl winning Tampa Bay Buccaneers and stuff. But geez, when it comes to commentating, I don't know who hired him on ESPN. It's just ridiculous. And then to put him in a
A
electric moving chair
boogermobile.
and call it the Booger Mobile, like who thought that that was a good idea? Like I just
ESPN
I
has
just
no
don't
one to pick
understand.
from. That's the problem.
You know,
Just
but
imagine being those fans in the stand trying to watch the game in those front row
just a,
seats, and
just a
you just see
booger
Booger
scrolling across.
scooting along right in front of you.
His crooked fingers.
Yeah, yeah, he's got jacked up hands, but that's neither here nor there. He is a terrible commentator, and he rounds out my top three. I guess my stance is, if you guys agree with my top three least fave sports commentators.
Give me the
Phil
three again. Was it
Phil
Chris Sims?
Sims,
Phil
Phil
Sims.
Sims, Chris Sims. I don't even know how that guy's a radio show. That's ridiculous. Phil Sims, Chris Collinsworth, and Booger McFarland are my three least fave sports commentators. Do you
I,
agree or nay?
I'll have to agree with you just because ESPN even noticed that and they can McFarland right off the bat. I'd have to agree with you. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we got so accustomed to like John Gruden being in the booth on Monday night
Mm,
and everything, so you have that. Okay, you're in the game. That's what John Madden brought to you. Like you felt like you knew, even if you didn't know football,
I didn't
you
even
felt like
think
you could
John
watch a
Gruden was
show.
that good of a commentator, but like you said, he
It's yeah,
brought energy.
yeah,
He knew
and
the
it
game
made
of
you want
football.
to listen. Like when Booger
Yeah,
McFarland talked, it just felt like an annoyance.
it
Like
just
just
comes off so arrogant. Like
yeah,
I think
like
I saw a play where it was like the guy fumbled the football and they did a replay and he's like, "Man, they really needed that first down. He can't fumble the football in that situation." Really? Like no kidding.
yeah, there's a difference between like a colored commentator and like I guess he was the Monday night expert, but I mean like you're telling me ESPN can't open the pocketbook up and
Yeah.
get a better defensive tackle than
They
Booger
are
McFarland.
struggling for sure. Like they
Um,
lost
so
Mike
yeah,
Tirico, who was decent and stuff, but
Well,
yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I don't know, Jordan, you have someone else that you maybe want to put in there?
apparently ESPN tried to get Peyton Manning for some big money, and he turned them down. I don't know the whole
And
story,
Tony
but
Romo too. Yeah,
yeah,
they
it
initially
sounds like
wanted
they
Romo.
were trying to make Monday Night Football great again, but didn't work out so well yet. So um, I, I think I would have to agree. I can't really think of any commentators that I dislike more. Booger is definitely up there on that list. I did not like him at all. The only commentator that I would possibly put in that list, although you could argue that he's not a commentator anymore, is Jason Witten.
Oh,
Fantastic football player, but him and Booger together was just awful. He
it
would,
was just awful.
he would fumble over his words. And I'm a Cowboys fan, so I love Witten, but as a commentator, he had to go. It was uh, there. Between him and Booger, there was so many sound bites of just
some
you could play it back and you
some
had no
people
idea
have
what
it.
was going
Some
on.
people have that talent, and some people do not.
Right. So
But it
I,
seems
I
like
think I'd have to agree.
it seems like this is a stalemate, and I just thought that was a fun topic to throw in there. I guess we'll switch it on over to Jordan's topic next. What you got?
And I don't mean to cut you off, Jordan. Just so everyone out there, we will be posting up the points so everyone can keep track of who's in the lead and who's going to be suffering that punishment.
Good. Yep.
So I did another fun topic as well, just because we don't have too much going on in sports right now. I wanted to save those big topics until people have sports on their brains. But for this week, I decided to go with greatest fictional athlete of all time. So I'm talking
Ooh.
Wow.
movie athletes, TV show athletes. There's a huge list to pull from, and I think it's hard to pick any specific one. But I mean, just to run down a few. I mean, when you think of movie athletes, your head immediately goes to, the Adonis Creeds, the Ivan Dragos, the Willie Beemans from
Yeah.
any given Sunday. But you also have guys on there like Ricky Bobby. Ricky Bobby's one of the greatest
Can't forget
NASCAR
about the
drivers
Ricky
of all
Bobby.
time. You got
Not
you
first,
got
you last.
you got Bobby Boucher on there. I mean, if there was a
Mud
sequel,
Dogs.
could
Mud
Bobby Boucher
Dogs.
have been one of the greatest defenders of all time? Um, you got Benny the Jet from Sandlot. I don't know
Wow.
how many people seen Sandlot on
He
there.
made the big
This
leagues.
is-
He made the big leagues.
This is a
Um,
list.
Happy Gilmore. Yeah, Happy
man.
Gilmore.
Greatest golfer. Only time I'd ever watch golf.
It seems
And
like Adam Sandler has quite a few. You got the longest yard character, Paul Crew. Like
yeah,
it's just
yeah, no, and one that people don't often think of as a fictional athlete, but what about Forrest Gump? Forrest
oh,
Gump,
Oh,
did dabble.
football player, big time runner, ping pong champion. This guy, this guy was an athlete. Not
serves our
so
country.
not so smart, but he was an athlete. So, but when I say greatest athlete, fictional athlete of all time, there's only one name that comes to mind, and the only one that I would give the top spot has got to be Rocky. Um, you see his story throughout the movies. He loses, comes back and wins. It's a great underdog story. He beats the world champ. He goes and beats Ivan Drago in Russia. He comes back when he's 50 and beats or almost beats a champion. And now his story continues as a trainer with the Creed movies.
Just doesn't die.
So, in terms of greatest fictional athlete of all time, I think I've got to go with the easy choice, and that's Rocky.
Go ahead, Keith.
Uh, it would be hard to peg against that just because a fictional character has a real life statue in Philadelphia.
It's true. True.
You know what I mean? So I mean, realistically speaking, I'd have to agree just on that base that a fictional character has carried that kind of weight. You know what I mean? Like and everyone quotes that, the Eye of the Tiger. Like a lot of people don't even realize who wrote that song. They just immediately think, oh, Rocky.
Mm-hmm.
It's so on that basis, I'd have to agree. I mean, growing up, if I had to make an argument, I would probably say Shane Falco, just because he took a
Whoa.
replacement team and got him into the big one. But I'd have to agree with Jordan on that. I mean, Rocky that's a hard one to go against.
You don't realize how many fictional athletes there are to choose from. Like when you started, bringing this topic to light, I was just like, who am I going to
Jackie
pick
Moon.
outside
Jackie
of Rocky?
Moon.
Jackie Moon, like
Yeah, I mean,
Will
there's
Ferrell's got a couple.
Jesus Shuttleworth.
Yeah.
You got him
Coffee
on there.
Black.
Yeah, there's a ton of great fictional athletes on there, but I don't know. I didn't see anyone greater than Rocky.
It's tough because, everybody knows the Rocky tune. So, and like you said, he has a statue. He's definitely top of the list, but I just want to disagree on purpose. And a lot of people will say NASCAR isn't a sport and stuff, but I just love me some Ricky Bobby. I'm gonna say Ricky Bobby. The Ballad of Ricky Bobby. That movie was a classic. I wish they would have done like what Rocky did and followed him and done multiple movies. But I'm gonna say Ricky Bobby. It's just you ain't first, you're last. There's so many quotes from that movie that Ricky Bobby said that just hit home. They just hit home. That's stuff you can implement in your life, and I don't know. I just really like Ricky Bobby, so I'll take Ricky Bobby on that one.
All right, so
All right, so it sounds like John's Frost, sorry, is taking a point here. So
I'll do it for Ricky.
that's
For Ricky.
two for Frost, one for me. 0 for Keith still. So
Yeah,
this
we gotta get
last
Keith.
topic here is a breaker here. What do you got,
Yeah,
Keith?
just so everyone knows, when we're talking about this as well, we want to make the other two agree with us. So just keep that in
I
mind.
just really wanted to disagree. I don't know why. It's just I
Yeah,
just
so
make
as you
it.
can tell, my other two cohorts over here kind of decided to go a little bit on the funnier side. So I want to take it a little bit more serious here and actually hit on a topic
Yep.
which I think is going to start getting some steam here. And mine's the top prospects in college basketball are going to start to pursue going to the G League over going to college.
Mm,
And the reason why I say that a lot is, as many of you may or may not know, I'm going to list a few names off here. Jalen Green, the number one prospect, shooting guard, he decided to start the trend and go to the G League, which is huge. The G League wanted this. Sharif Abdur Rahim, which some of you may or may know, played basketball a while ago, fantastic power forward. He is the commissioner of the G League, and he wanted to start with Adam Silver to get these kids to come and play over with them. And what they're offering them basically is 6-figure contracts and the ability they will pay for their college when they decide to go back, which
oh well.
is fantastic. They are going to
Yep.
pay for their schooling. But how it's going to kind of work out is that they would be basically scheduled not necessarily against other G League teams. They'll play them, but it's going to be more for the coaching aspect, the training. They'll be scheduled against national teams from around the world, and everything. So when Jalen Green signed, that changed the landscape right off the bat. And then right behind them, another top prospect, Isaiah Todd, power forward, decided to join him with Deshaun Nix, and then the first foreign player, Kai Soto, 7'2", basically playmaking wing at 7'2".
Yeah, that's wild.
They all decided to sign over at the G League. So the reason why I'm taking this stance is, I hate to break it to people out there. A lot of these kids, they're not going to college to go to class.
To
They're
learn.
not go. Yeah, I think the trend of, because you saw them mostly go play overseas to play professional ball. Now they're given the opportunity to stay in the States. We're getting paid, which what all college athletes want. We want to be paid. All right, well, we're going to pay you. They made their own team for them. And the reason why, again, I want to hit on that is I think a lot of these kids, there is no college pride. If there was college pride, Zion, Barrett, and Cam Reddish would have stayed at Duke to win a national championship. They
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be one and done. And I think, again, the reason why I want to hit on this is the G League in the next 5 years, you will see more top rated prospects play in the G League before go to college, especially if the kids that are going there now succeed making the jump to the NBA. If Jalen Green is a top 5 pick, if Isaiah Todd's a top 5 pick, more and more kids are going to be like, I never want to go to college, because as many of you know, there is no high school to the NBA anymore. Well, this is now the outlet for them. All right, you don't want to go to school? Well, you can come play here. We'll give you everything you need, and then you're going right to the NBA.
So
So,
it sounds like your stance is um, the G League will take more top NBA prospects
yes, the
than
G the
college
G League will
basketball.
the G League will begin to overtake the NCAA, just for the sheer fact that the G League is giving these kids what they want.
Why don't you go
So I don't
ahead?
know, yeah, how you guys feel about that.
Go first, Jordan.
Um, I don't know. I mean, I feel like this could go either way. On one hand, I say to myself, I think they do have college pride, but I think that they also want money, right? I mean, everybody wants money, everybody wants to be paid, and you're not paid in college. If college were to come out and say that they're going to start paying their athletes more, or now they're allowed to use their name for endorsements, I think that might change things. But a 6-figure salary with the G League is quite a bit, for someone who might not even ever make the NBA. So I don't know. It's a tough call. I think I think I would disagree though. I think people are going to continue to go to college, and for the fact that as much as the G League will pay you, it's always going to be viewed as like an under the NBA's wing, whereas college basketball is viewed entirely different. It's got March Madness. You can come play for a top college team. You may not make the money, but now you can make money on endorsements. You're going to get the fans. You're going to boost your marketability. You're going to, really, if you do it right as a college player, you can make serious money, especially with the new endorsement, change. So I think a lot of players are going to continue to go to college. They want that atmosphere. They want that March Madness. And there's a lot of players who wouldn't be top players in the G League if they just went straight to the G League. I mean, think about confidence is the number one thing in sports. Like, you're a high school player, you go straight to the G League where you're playing with a bunch of other guys who might be better than you. Maybe your confidence goes out the window. Whereas you go to a college team where you're the best guy, you're expected to drop 25 a night, and now you come out of college after 1 year being top 5 pick. So I definitely think the G League's going to pull some top players, but I think more will continue to go to college.
Yeah, that's a good point. I love March Madness. College basketball and March Madness specifically, is one of the most exciting things to watch related to sports. I'm not sure how it's going to work out with the whole paying players and stuff, because there's a lot of kids that go to college. I don't know how you're going to afford to pay all these players and stuff. But I'm going to have to agree with Keith. I think G League is going to come up and steal a lot of this top talent. Given the right that I think I agree with Keith on this too, is most of these kids just want to get to the next level, and they're going to use the G League as a gateway, and get paid doing it. Given we'll see how it works with college paying athletes and stuff, but I don't think that'll really stand the test of time. And I love college basketball and college sports in general, but I think the G League, just like hockey and baseball, they have their minor leagues. They're going to treat this G League as a minor league. They're going to pay, get these guys to come in and pay them, and they're going to use it as a gateway, and they're going to try and get where they want to be, which is ultimately the league. So I'd have to agree with Keith, which means
there's
that
a tie.
Jordan is the odd man out. And that brings the score total, was that 2 apiece for me and you?
Yeah, so we're going to have...
Keith sitting pretty with no risk in hot foods and crap.
Keith's just sucking up and agreeing with the other people so he doesn't get any points.
Oh, stop. I'm bringing in hot topics.
Oh, man. No pun intended, right? But
all right, so
this will be interesting, though, because that means me and Jordan will do what did we say that one? The noodles or the chocolate?
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and tonight we're going to be dropping the winner of the poll. So at the moment, the noodles are up by 1 vote. So if we have any last-minute entries, right now it would be the noodles. But if, like I said, you have until 8 o'clock tonight, we're going to go ahead and drop those results.
Friday, though, so.
Is there some voter fraud going on? I thought that the chocolate was up.
No, we have to take in consideration the Instagram, along with the Facebook poll.
Are we doing mail-in ballots?
Some of our senior guests
they don't know the concept of the online polls, but it's all good.
Tuned to do more online polls, so we will take their writing comments.
If you're listening to this, vote for the chocolate. I don't want to eat the noodles.
Yeah, I agree. I have to agree. I'm all for the chocolate. It'll be interesting to see what it does to my insides, but I'm all for the chocolate, and I think it'll be good. Me and Jordan get to do it, and we'll drop that video of us doing the turn up the heat challenge. So yeah, we'll see how it pans out. That episode will probably drop sometime next week. Yeah, that will do it for the boxing and it out. Boxing It Out segment of the show. I like that name instead of round robin. I feel like that really fits. Boxing It Out. Just rolls off the
Viewer
tongue.
feedback, man. We had a couple guys reach out, and we decided to go with
Suggested the
what you
name.
guys
Yeah,
said.
that's
So
good.
that's
That
what we
that
went
is
to.
good, keeping the fans involved. Let's dive into this last segment of the show, questions from the box.
Yeah.
This is where Keith will read questions that we had from some listeners, and we'll chime in and give our opinion. And feel free to, uh, when you watch this stream or listen to it, find us on social media and comment your opinion below. We love to hear your feedback. And yeah, why don't you read from the box, Keith?
Yeah, we had picked out two questions this week. We'll read off the first one from one of our followers, Dustin. He asked us, with many of the sports about to restart with shortened seasons, possibly some won't, who do you believe will win the titles for each of their respective sports? Listing off MLB, NHL, and the NBA. I'll start that out. Just going down the list, this is going to be it's tricky, especially when we're talking MLB, who technically their season is starting. And excuse me, I did miss there the NFL as well. I apologize. He did ask for the NFL. The NFL and baseball, it's not like their season stopped and restarted. So in regards to them, you can hit your normal big hitters there. Outside of baseball having a shortened season, you kind of still have to go with, the Dodgers, I think, are probably going to be your top favorites if we're talking baseball. NHL, I'm going to have to go with my hometown Lightning. They're going to be a top team, a team to beat. You're definitely going to have to watch out for the Bruins are going to be in there, the Capitals. And then if you're heading out to the West, the Oilers are going to be a sneaky team, good young talent, Draisaitl, McDavid are going to be leading that. But I definitely think the Lightning are going to take the NHL. NBA, this might be a little sour note for some of you. I'm going to LeBron's not winning it this year, folks.
Oh,
I think Giannis, the Greek Freak's going to take it from Milwaukee
wow.
for the NBA. And then the NFL, you have to. There's no reason to bet against the Chiefs at the moment. I mean, they're retooled, restocked, and there's no quarterback upset about no contract over there. So I definitely think the Chiefs. Now, if you're gonna have to pick a team to maybe head them up, this is gonna hinge on. Many of you saw this video of Antonio Brown working out with Russell Wilson. If the Seahawks happen to nab an AB, the Seahawks are definitely gonna, I think, take the NFC. But I
Wait,
think the favorites will
wait a minute.
be the Chiefs.
You
What in the
cannot
garbage?
you cannot boost the Seahawks or any other team if they get Antonio Brown, because he
He's
could be
failed.
there one week and he could be in jail 2 weeks later.
He has
That's
blown
fine.
up two teams running through the league. I don't get how you can say
Yeah, I
signing
mean,
AB.
he-
Just
He's
Well, no,
blown
this
up
is
two
ticket.
teams. He's fought his mover.
I think
He's
I,
like just
I think the Seahawks should stick with DK Metcalf and the guys that they have,
Tyler Lockett.
guys that want to be on a team. But I don't get how you can say that AB is the ticket to the Super Bowl. But I'll chime in and say I agree with you on the MLB. I think the Dodgers are still favorites, even given the circumstances. I think a lot of teams, you're gonna go off of last year because you're not gonna really be able to, do too many extra things with all the given circumstances. I think the NHL, I'd agree with the Lightning. I too am a local guy, so I will be cheering on the Lightning. NBA, I love Orlando Magic. Uh, it is a weird season, and technically they're at home. I guess because they're in Orlando, but I'll be cheering for the Magic. I don't think the Magic do it.
Yeah, they're
Um,
not. They're not.
and
There's
I
no way.
know a lot of guys will be cheering for the Lakers because of LeBron, and they are they were sitting pretty over there. But don't be surprised for the Clippers. Clippers might make it a little hard, but I think the Lakers will pull it out. And as far as the NFL, I'm still gonna be rooting for them Bucks. regardless of the circumstances, Tom Brady's still working out. Social distancing outside is the safest place to be right now, and he's
Getting in
throwing.
trouble.
He's getting them chemistry, getting backlash. Call it what you will, but I think he's going to get it done, and that defense will help him out. Yeah. What say you, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, with baseball, I think it's either the Yankees or the Dodgers have the best chance. I'm a kind of a Red Sox fan. Lived in Boston for a couple years, so became a Red Sox fan while I was up there. Went to a bunch of their games, so it kind of pains me to say the Yankees, but I think with the shortened season, those two have the best chance. NHL, as I said before, I'm not a huge hockey guy, so I'm gonna also go with the Lightning, just simply because I probably couldn't make a decent argument for any other team. So
At least you're honest.
Just so everyone out there, I will keep hockey relevant on this.
Yeah.
Everyone knows.
We'll call Keith our hockey expert.
NBA, also a Magic fan. Don't see them winning, but I have a hard time believing anybody's going to beat LeBron. And I just the Lakers look too tough. They just added J.R. Smith, who's got chemistry with LeBron already. So I think after missing the playoffs last year, I think the Lakers and LeBron come back and win the title this year.
Just gotta make sure JR can see the shot clock and the time.
Oh, yeah. But with NFL, I think it's still early to say on that, since it looks like we're going to get a full season. So maybe we'll revisit this one as the season approaches. I do think my Cowboys have a chance this year. Don't even say anything, Keith. Okay? Don't even say anything,
about
Keith.
the Bucks for your pick.
I think the Chiefs are still the favorites. I think there's a lot of contenders that we can dive into in more detail later. But for this early preseason prediction, or preseason, I'm going to go with the Cowboys. I like what we did on offense. Keith,
you're a true fan.
Keith, why don't you just go watch?
You can go take your other.
It's the same as watching the Jets.
You can go take your other 8-8 season. Go try to find a coach to blame it on.
What?
He wasn't blah blah blah.
Mike McCarthy is a better coach than Jason Garrett. We can all agree on that.
At least I'm not blaming it on my quarterback having mono.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, you guys have the best offensive line, best running back, and you still can't win anything. So we'll move on.
We're not getting
Hey, they won 8 games.
We're going to move on before this gets really heated here, folks. You're going to see this argument next week. Second question is going to be from one of our viewers, Danny. He wanted to shout out the Jaguars, him being a Jacksonville fan. Go Jags, even though that's not much. Yeah, that's loyalty. Yeah. He wanted to know, how did the Patriots do with Cam Newton, and where do you see them finishing as contenders for the AFC East title, conference title, or possibly the Super Bowl? I'll start it off. I see them winning the AFC East again, and a lot of that's going to hinge on Cam being healthy and the rest of the team. You got to realize the Patriots are not a young team. Julian Edelman is not young. That defense, I argue this, Stephon Gilmore is the number one corner in football. You do have the number one corner in football on your defense, and that defense has carried them season to season outside of, them kind of hitting a little step at the end of last year. I do see them winning the AFC title. I don't see them going to the conference title, though. I can't. There's too much in front of them. When you're looking at what's out there, you're going to have to deal with the Chiefs. You're going to have to deal with the Ravens. But Lamar Jackson's got a lot to prove outside of just being a regular season stud. But I don't see them being deep enough, and Cam carrying them past that type of situation. But I do see them at least winning the AFC East title and making the playoffs, especially with that new playoff format, those extra teams being added. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be that difficult to get in.
Why don't you go ahead, Jordan?
Yeah, so I kind of agree with Keith. I think the addition of Cam Newton, like we touched on earlier, I think if there's any team out there, any coach out there who can get the best out of an older quarterback coming in and find a way to use him, it's definitely Belichick. for anybody who's watched him before, you'll have Sonny Michel have 25 carries one game and 2 the next. So he'll switch it up and do what's best for the team that they're playing. So I think in that regard, Cam Newton's a great choice for them because he can throw, he can run, it gives them options. I think they're contenders for the AFC East title, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills take it this year. They did well last year, and I think with another season and now with the addition of Stephon Diggs, I really think the Bills could surprise some people with how good they look this year, and their defense came on strong at the end there. So wouldn't be surprised if the Pats win the AFC East, but I don't see them going to the conference title, although I do think it's possible, and definitely not the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I somewhat agree. I think Cam Newton, I love watching Cam Newton, especially MVP Cam Newton, when healthy. But he has gone through some serious injuries, shoulder and foot to say the least. And he's not young. His play style was aggressive. He took a lot of hits in Carolina. But we can all agree that Bill Belichick will get the most out of Cam, and Josh McDaniels they'll derive a good offensive game plan for him. But I agree. I think the Bills are going to surprise some people and break the Patriots' streak of 11 straight AFC East titles. Their defense, like you said, came on strong. Josh Allen isn't the most accurate, but he makes some good plays. And if they can get a good, decent running game, a decent running game and defense can take you a long way in this league, I feel. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win the AFC East title. I honestly think the AFC conference title game will be Chiefs and Ravens. And I think the Ravens could squeak into the Super Bowl. But for the question of how will the Patriots and Cam Newton do, I think they'll do okay, and I think they'll build off this year. I don't think, given the certain circumstances with the COVID regulations and all this crazy stuff going on, will help their cause. But I think it will help him to get another year with them, and they could do something next year. But as far as for this year, I think the Bills will win the AFC East title. I guess that's going to do it for us on 3inTheBox Sports Podcast. Episode 2, that's right. We want to thank everyone for the love and support. It's been surprising to all of us, to say the least.
Very grateful.
The views, the comments, the input, the feedback. We love it. Hope you can continue it. We will continue pushing content throughout the week. We will keep you informed about the poll. Looks like chocolate will win, and me and Jordan will be doing the hot chocolate challenge. No pun intended. Not that kind of hot chocolate. It will tear us up. We'll post that video. Me and Jordan are the losers again, and we will do that. Post that video sometime next week, we think, guys? Is that what we're thinking?
We'll let everyone know when that's coming out, and then their recovery time as well.
It should be before next week's episode. So okay. we gotta order the chocolate, and then as soon as it gets here, we'll go ahead and dig into it.
It just gets me nervous when you have to sign a waiver to eat the food. I don't know. But
I just want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at 223 Tattoo. That's my cousin Jimmy's tattoo shop in New York, 223 Hempstead Turnpike.
Yes, sir.
Followers of our page, great fans. We just want to give them a quick shout out. I'm going to tag all their Instagrams on there, so you can give all their work a quick follow and everything. But again, that's going to be 223 Tattoo. I want to thank them for their support and all this as well.
All right, that's awesome. And that's going to do it for us this week on 3inTheBox Sports Podcast. Keep in line, and we'll post that content, push that content this week, and we'll see you next week for episode 3.
See y'all next week.
Deuce.